Here we go. Welcome everybody to the first episode of ArmTalk on my YouTube channel. Thank you very much. I got an individual here who will take part in one of the most important arm wars there is, the battleground. You got 4 studs out there. I just happen to have one of them on the show with me, Mr. Ryan Espy. Ryan, how you doing?
Jody, I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Well, good. But first things
It's an
first.
honor to be on the show and be the first guest on the YouTube channel. Is that right?
Yes, this is correct. This is correct. So I got my Gatorade ready to go. I'm crossing my fingers, hoping this thing goes through. So before we get into the battleground, I want to talk about, you just came back from Texas. You took a visit. It was on a business trip, but while you were there, you got the opportunity to pull people like Robbie Burnett and some of the big tough guys in Texas. Tell the viewers out there, how was that experience?
Man, it was great. I mean, the trip to Texas was eye-opening because I'm coming from a place where there's lots of lockdowns and that kind of stuff. And I get down to Texas and basically there's no restrictions at all. I'm just kind of, it's like 2 years ago, no masks, 6,000 realtors, doing our thing. And
right.
Then Danny Gillian picked me up on the night of the practice, went out there. There's a ton of guys. And I think I stayed at that arm wrestling table for about 3 hours. So it was a good practice. I'm still pretty sore.
Good, good. So now that you have a chance to come out of Canada, and I know when you and Jeff Frank will have you guys' show, you talk about, and even Uncle John, where, you had trouble leaving the country, and now coming here to the States, it was like, it's kind of like real life now. Was that a good experience for you?
It was great, and it was eye-opening to what should be happening in the world. I think that, we got to relax restrictions at some point, but, man, it wasn't easy. I had to take a COVID test to get down there. I had to take a COVID test to come back, and I had to take a third one once I got back into Canada.
Wow. Just
so I didn't end up, under a mandatory quarantine. And all 3 are negative. And,
good.
Surprisingly negative because – I was around so many people down there.
Yeah.
So many people.
Well, I got a question. So, and maybe it's just, a different province for a different part of the country. But I know when Uncle John says if you leave, then you have to be quarantined in a hotel that you have to pay for. You didn't have to go through that, did you?
I did not, because I have a vaccine already, and I had proof of the vaccine, and I had all the tests.
Gotcha.
So if you were to show back up in Canada and you didn't have a vaccine or proof of a vaccine, they would probably put you in a mandatory hotel stay or whatever. But each province is slightly different, just kind of like each state is different down there.
Right.
Where, Florida and Texas are kind of wide open and other states have lots of restrictions.
Yeah. And speaking of Florida, the IFA World Championships, I know some people kind of frown upon that. I get it. It's not the true World Championships. However, if the guys and girls who are pro WAF, you guys are not going to have a world. They shut it down. It was going to be taking place at the Republic of Georgia. Now that's not going to happen. And now you do have the IFA Championships, which is taking place in Florida. As you say, that's kind of open. What are your thoughts upon that? Because you were part of a split 1 year, correct? Hudson Bay, was it Thunder Bay?
I was, when I just started arm wrestling, they'd done the split. There was 2 WAF championships at the time. But, it's very interesting because the IFA Worlds is going to be the only Worlds that I'm aware of.
Right.
There has been some rumblings. WAF will try to put something together. But, you can call it not a true World Championship, but that's not really fair to the people that are traveling, is it? Because they believe they're going to a World Championship. And, if they win, don't they have the right to call themselves a world champion? It's kind of like Petaluma, where you got, 2 or 3 guys from other countries and the United States is making up the bulk of the arm wrestlers, and the guys are calling them world champion there. It's
right.
It's a difficult thing. And if you go there and you win, are you supposed to shy away and not say I won the world championship, despite whom I may or may not show up? Are we supposed to shut the world down? It's an interesting topic of conversation, I think, because, lots of people have lots of opinions on it.
Right. If I happen to go down there and I win my Masters category, I'm going to say I'm a IFA world champion because I know that, for some people, WAF is the real world champion. I get it, but like you said, hey, what about the guys who won the Petaluma? That's also recognized as a world championship, knowing wholeheartedly that same year there was a WAF championship. So I do get it, but heck, you only got 2 jobs to do: show up and win. All the rest is details. That's just my opinion.
That's right. And here's the other thing. So somebody doesn't show up and you win the WAF championships. There's also chatter about that not being a true championship. And this year, let's say they throw together a WAF championship at the last minute. Well, it's going to be a very similar situation to IFA. There's going to be many, many countries that cannot attend.
Mm-hmm.
So you could argue that that's not a true world championship either.
Correct.
But it comes down to, the people that are going to go compete. It's still a tournament. It's still got that title attached to it. So, but here's a prediction for you. Robbie Burnett, right arm, IFA champion.
Hey, you know what? I think he's lost some weight too, so that's even more dangerous.
Well, he's going to be 230, I think, is the weight class, right? I think that's his goal, is to get down to that.
Yeah, that's pretty dangerous for people in that weight category. But before I, go ahead and switch gears here, I got one more question about that, and I want your response to it. So when you do that kind of thing, right, with the IFA and the WAF and stuff like that, here's my thing, and I know for a fact, like I said, people want to frown upon that. And like I said, it's just details. Just show up and win. However, if I were to walk out of there as champion, it's sad because we live in a society where people want to just, be negative towards you. Yeah, but so-and-so wasn't there. And I always say this: the reason why a lot of top name North Americans haven't gone to WAF recently is because, one, they've kind of been there, done that. Okay. If they can get sponsorship, they probably do it again. So I'll bring up a few names as an example, like a Dave Chafee. Well, he's been there, done that. I don't believe Todd Hutchins has a WAF. I don't think so. I don't believe Devin Larrett, Michael Todd, those guys don't have a WAF title. However, they're at a point in their career where, you know what? I don't want to spend all that money to go there and compete. I'd rather go ahead and pull the bigger names who might be at a WAF and, and get paid for it, so to speak. What are your thoughts on that?
It's very interesting because, a lot of those top guys don't have a WAF championship. You are correct. Devin Larrett made a conscious decision many years ago that he was going to pull professionally. And that had nothing to do with anything except that. There wasn't even, some people use the narrative that when drug testing was brought in, a lot of these guys stopped going. But for a guy like Devin, way before that ever happened, he made the decision that he was going to be a professional arm wrestler and he was going to forego all WAF championships. But he did go to WAF at one point.
Right.
And on the flip side of that narrative that if somebody doesn't show up, you are the true champ. Well, you look at the class that Devin was in that last time he went, it was John Berzinkin first, Ron Bath in second, and Devin Larrett third. Now that is a stacked class. And had those two guys not shown up, Devin would have had his WAF.
Right.
Dave Chafee actually won WAF at 242. He was in the 110 kilo class.
Yeah.
In the right arm in Mesquite, which was super impressive. And now he's gone on from that. He's got his WAF title, and he's moved on to the pro ranks. So, he's got all of the accolades. Some of the other guys, it's just not that important for them. Levon spent a long time in WAF before he ever really emerged as the number one in the world.
Right.
And now you'll never see him at a WAF championship again, in my opinion.
And I think once you reach that level of elite, and you get to go to a PAL or you go to a Zlati or a Nemiroff, once you kind of experience stuff like that, it's kind of hard not to want to go back, and even like, for example, Arm Wars, right? Now, I've never been there personally, but I know that if I were to go there, just watching it on YouTube, I say to myself, man, that's a bucket list and a half. I would love to do something like that. Maybe one day, maybe not. I don't know, but I have a distinct feeling that if I were to be involved in something like that, that would be probably one of the most best things you can experience. And you want to go back, which puts other things like maybe a WAF or IFA on the back burner. I'm just saying for myself though.
And then,
so
oh yeah, you got all these guys, Jody, that go to WAF and they keep going to WAF year after year. One of the unknown things that a lot of North American audience doesn't realize is that these guys are getting paid to go to the WAF championship by their country. So they get subsidized to go, and they're getting cash rewards when they get back. So it's a little bit different for them because, in a sense, they're almost competing as a professional at that level.
Yeah. You know, it's like I said, we as in North America, we don't have the kind of option that they do where they can come back and, you know, get paid for that. That'd be awesome to do that, but we just don't. We're cut from a different cloth, I guess you can say.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
So Ryan, let's go ahead and cut through the chase, man. You have a major event coming up just around the corner, Arm Wars Battleground, which features Alex Kordeka, yourself, Chan Shaw, Derek Smith. Now, those three guys I mentioned, they've already had matches before, like one-on-one matches, and you really haven't yet. So I asked you a while back, I'm like, do you think that's an advantage or a disadvantage in your book? Sound off on that, if you will, please.
Not necessarily. So there's a few moving parts to this now. So specifically about me having a warm-up match, you never know where I'll pop up. So let's keep that in mind.
There you go.
And watch my YouTube channel closely in the coming weeks. So just keep an eye on that. Now, I feel like going down there, engaging my strengths with Robbie, who was the last guy to beat Chance Shaw that wasn't named John Berzank.
Right.
Was a really good experience and a good opportunity to see how I stack up against the guy that, you know, essentially has bested the guy that I'm going against. Now, I know that's not always how it works because it's like styles make matches, but, you know, it was a good experience and I still go in there really confident. Alex isn't actually having a match. So we found out that that Hermes Gasparini-Alex Kordeka match wasn't confirmed by both parties, and it's not happening.
Wow.
So Kordeka was actually pulled out of that, and he is focusing on moving into the Arm Wars event.
Yes, I did read that.
So is it an advantage? It could be a huge disadvantage. I don't think Chance is here or there, like as far as his match with John goes. I don't think it's an advantage or a disadvantage. Maybe it got him a little bit sharper, and you know, John sure is great at making guys feel good and building up their confidence, and it seems like that's what he did with Chance. Derek, you know, if he beats Tom Nelson, it might give him a little confidence going forward. If he loses to Tom Nelson, my God, that could be a devastating hit to his confidence coming into arguably a much larger right-handed match.
Right.
How's that going to impact him if he gets destroyed by Tom, and then he's got to go against the Polish giant a few weeks later? Like, that's insane to me that that's a risky match.
Oh, yeah. And the thing about that is that, you know, the last thing you want is all participants going in with like, oh, I don't know if I can do this now, just coming off a loss, because if you allow that mental aspect to take over, you know, that can cripple somebody, you know, and you don't want that. You know what I mean?
Now it's time for me to make a statement here, Jody, and it's going to be a little bit cryptic and I can't go into much detail, but I'm going to encourage everyone to watch Neil Pickup's live show today. They definitely should, because there's going to be some updates that I can't talk about yet, but you just wait a few hours and you'll see them. And I'll express an opinion. And once you see Neil's show, this will make sense to a lot of people.
Gotcha.
I think there's a lot of people out there in this arm wrestling world that are really concerned about building their own brand and legacy. And in some cases, they have said yes to things that are don't really give them a whole lot of gain as far as legacy goes, and could be devastating to them if it goes the other way.
Right.
And it's wrong. And I believe that there is some integrity issues here. And I definitely think that there's a lot of guys out there that are picking and choosing their path to stardom and avoiding a lot of people that could knock them off that path. So take that for what it's worth, Jody, and it's all gonna make sense to you later on today, my friend.
Okay. Well, and I don't know. Like, all I can do is speculate, but I don't know if you saw my post the other day, and it's about rankings. I know some people don't care about rankings. I understand that, and I was always thought that, and for example, the thread was like this: if a guy, let's just say you and I, right, you're ranked number 1, I'm ranked number 24, right, and I said, hey, Ryan, how about you and I have a match? You may be at a point where go, hey, no offense, I love you. You're a good guy on the table, but I don't think you're in my stratosphere, so to speak. And I always thought it's always up to that higher guy to say yes to create these matches, because unless you're the number 1 guy, someone's always chasing somebody else, And I know Gary Roberts and Uncle John kind of briefly talked about that on ArmTV a few nights ago and stuff. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it is incumbent upon the guys ranked higher to say yes and accept challenges, as long as there's no underlying reasons for them to not do it.
Right.
And the ranking system is highly manipulative right now, particularly the ones that we see currently. I mean, where the hell is Robbie Burnett on that super heavyweight list in the right hand? Having just beat the guy that's ranked 8th,
Yeah.
And speculation about practice matches and where you think you stack up when you've come out and said, when certain people have come out and said they won't arm wrestle this guy, that guy, they're trying to avoid them at this stage in their career. When you're climbing that ladder, that's not a luxury you should have. And you should actually be facing guys all over the place. Like, okay, I'm ranked 15th. I'm going to arm wrestle Chance, who's 8th. Right? I did something like that. Chance has no win there, so he might just say no to the match. Mm-hmm. But, if I beat him, do I move to 8th and he moves to 15th? Or do I go a spot ahead of him and he just goes down to 9th and everyone shuffles a little bit? Like, all these rankings are so speculative, particularly in the times we're in where, there seems to be almost a protectionist kind of attitude towards your ranking. It's strange to me. But that's the super match era where, I kind of started and came up through arm wrestling in the tournament era where, everyone pulled everyone. And if they showed up, your job was to show up and win, right?
Right. It's just simple. I think we got away from that. I mean, I don't want to start saying a lot of pullers are shying away from competition, but did we all get into the sport for a reason to be the best? Well, you can't pick and choose. And I'm not trying to say a lot of people are doing that, but we all know there are some doing that. We just to get the juices flowing here in Oregon. What we decided to do is, and we have it on the Facebook page, Oregon Rankings, and basically it's all broken down in weight class and overall. And to do this, sometimes we may or may not, because of COVID or whatever, we may not be able to have a state championship tournament. So we'll have a big practice. Everyone's calling each other out. Cool. 1-on-1. How it goes. If the number 6 guys pull the number 3rd guy 1-on-1 and number 6 wins, well, guess what? Number 6 takes his spot. Number 3 now goes down a notch or 2. And that's how we do it to keep it somewhat, somewhat going. You know what I mean? But it also kind of forces people like, well, if I want to keep my spot, then I'm forced to go to this tournament and that tournament. At the same time, though, you don't want some guy to say, hey, I'm going to pull 1 time a year and I still need to be above that. You got to prove yourself at some point.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. And it's funny because some of the European guys, the attitude's totally different. Like, when I got offered the match with Georgie, he didn't hesitate. He's like, yeah, let's do it.
Right.
He didn't ask how much money he's getting paid, none of that shit. He just said, let's do it. Same thing with Alex Gerdetcha. We were both going to be there anyway. He wanted a left-handed match. You got it. So, it's interesting because people are trying to make this into a business. But, Chael Sonnen talks about all the time, like, what if Tom Brady just decided he wasn't going to play against a certain team? Like, you don't have that luxury in other sports either.
Right.
Just face who you got to face. The super match era, I love it. But, man, people got to start saying yes and taking some matches. And I get that, you know, we've had restrictions, but there's opportunities out there. There's still opportunities out there. And if none of these super matches I got coming up somehow line up because of COVID or whatever, I guess I'm just going to have to start coming to the States and going to the tournaments, man. Like, because I'm sick of not competing.
Right. And you know what? I will say this, though. The COVID thing, yeah, it may have shut down maybe WAF. It may have shut down WAL. But what it has done is other promoters are starting to say, hey, let's put these matches together. Let's go ahead. Let Neil put Arm Wars together. And you got the Fatal 4-Way. Let's have, you know, a match where you have Todd Zilla versus Corey West coming up. Justin Bishop versus, you know, Bill Lawson coming up. You need things. I mean, John Brzezinski, Paul Lynn. I mean, you got to get to a point where, you know what, we're going to start doing things on our own, regardless of the COVID thing, regardless, because it's a sport that we all love and we all train hard for. To do what? Sit around and just, you know, wait for someone to make the first move? That's just ridiculous, you know?
Yeah. You know, I was actually offered, there's another thing going on here too. There's some other dynamics as well. So WAL is actually, you know, they have first right of refusal on matches that involve two WAL guys.
Right.
So there's been a long kind of wait for, you know, myself and Matt Mass to arm wrestle.
Yeah.
Been a few promoters trying to put that together, but WAL really wants to have that match. So that is the holdup on that match. It's going to happen at some point, but I mean, take a look at Jeff Frank. So you saw his announcement that everything got postponed to March.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed out about that.
Like, that was a major international event, and then the government of British Columbia comes out and says vaccines are mandatory to basically do anything. And it becomes even more challenging because some of these vaccination programs run in these other countries are not recognized by different governments.
Which I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense. And I don't want to get political on this show, but none of that makes any sense, you know? I am glad, though, that Jeff Frank and myself had to postpone our match from TAL3, and we pushed it to the LA Expo in January in LA, California. So at least that, I still get to pull Jeff Frank. So I'm still fortunate, and I'm excited to still do that. But, yeah, man, when he put that message on there, I was kind of shaking my head like, damn, you know, because, again, it went from, the August event in 2020 that got postponed. Now you got this one that got postponed, and it's like, man, it's like you can't do anything, and you want to do it so bad, you know?
Yeah, it's exhausting, man, because there's been so many things lined up. But I'll tell you what, if you're going to see me get into the States a few times this year just for, I'll call it work, but I'll get down there because I know I can now, as long as I'm on a plane. So, I mean, you might see me pop up here and there just unannounced. All of a sudden, Ryan Espy's at the tournament, so.
You should. If you do that, can you imagine? Because, see, you're in a good spot right now. You cannot say a word. You cannot say nothing. Just sit there and go, I think I'm going to go here and do that. Not say a word and just roll up. And all of a sudden, can you see the body language? Can you see the faces on people as you stroll into the registration table?
Yeah, I think I will enjoy that very much when that happens.
That would be awesome. We got a couple people in the chat. We got Jamie Shelton. Papa Chalk got it on lock. What's up, Mr. Natfit? My teammate Christian's in the house, you know. So here's the thing. You said the match between you, there's two matches I would like to see you pull. Actually, there's three. One, yes, you and Matt Mass need to have that. And I know Wall wants to do it, which is why they're kind of putting the kibosh on everything. And it's almost to the point where it's like, you know what? When you go to an event and you got multiple people who have a YouTube and they're filming the event, then it's a race. You got to go home. You got to hurry up because whoever uploads their stuff first is like almost the winners, so to speak, you know, because you can have 4 or 5 people do that, but it's the same match. It's just from a different angle. You may have a different twist to it, but it's almost like that. So I get why Wall's doing that. Now, I also want to see you in Cody Merritt. I think that was in the works, but then COVID kind of knocked that out, correct?
That is correct, but we still have a potential upcoming match. I mean, Brian Kerner, we committed to him that we were going to have it at his event.
Okay.
And I don't know the date of that event, but I'll do my best to get down there.
And the third person I want to see you pull, and my teammate beat me to the punch, Mr. Christian Green, says, you and Travis Bagent left-handed. Let's do it.
So there's an interesting rivalry that's happened with me and Travis. And, you know, he was killing me. And then the World Tournaments happened, and he kicked my ass the first time in the finals. The second time was a little bit closer. And the third time, I hit him right to the pin, and he had to push my elbow off the pad twice to get that win. He fouled me out intentionally. And then Travis kind of left. He fell off, and you know, they say he's training for a comeback with Cody. And that match is going to happen. I'll kind of believe it when I see it. But I would love another shot at Travis. And I would take that match any time a promoter can put it together. And Lance Hunt was actually down there in Texas training with us, and we were talking a little bit about that. I thought it would be a fun one for them to throw together at an event. And Travis came out and actually said that he felt that I was still superior to Cody. And, you know, Cody's never pinned my arm, ever. He has one win on me at the WAF Championship on fouls. And they were really foul crazy those days. And I just, eventually when Cody and I were in the final, I didn't even hit. I just had to kind of hold him there because he was jumping around. And I had hand position on him. And he just fouled himself right out of that tournament.
Wow. And, you know, when you tell the people out there, when you go to a WAF, I'm sure IFA is going to be the same thing because you're going to have basically the same refs. How, when you those rules, any kind of bunny hop they're going to call. So at least when you pull under, you know, WAF rules, under, you know, IFA rules, that it kind of keeps your style, you know, it keeps you honest because they ain't going to allow all that, you know, jumping up and down and all that kind of stuff, you know?
Well, it's first of all, if you're using a Mazurenko table, the pads are rock hard. So any kind of little pop-up, it's a quarter of an inch, an eighth of an inch. If the guy even thinks you lifted it and didn't actually see it, they will call you on a foul and restart that match. And it's a full restart every time. So, I mean, it's good and bad, but, man, I don't think my arm ever went down. I think I got pinned once the whole time I was at WAF the last time. All the rest were foul losses, but I wasn't alone. And then you saw it even more kind of in Moldova where there was imaginary ones happening.
Well, you know what? I got an easy fix for that. It's called the Easy Real Table. Boom. There it is.
There you go.
Easy Real, I'm telling you. Those tables are bad. I mean, our team has some, and hey, those are good tables, man. Real good tables. So what do you think about, you know, because when Travis said, yeah, how about that? Because, you know, usually this time of year, he gets his kids are playing football. He wants to be there for that, as he should, you know. But when football season's done, he'll be training still, but he'll be coming out toward the spring. I'm like going, you know what? I'm kind of wanting to see it. Like, I feel like you. I believe it when I see it because the last time Travis was like, oh, I'm going to whip someone's ass. Watch me, you know, beat down Michael Todd and turn into one of those little boxing bar matches deals where you hit the, you know, the bar thing or whatever. And I was like, you know what? Everybody got duped. And, you know, Travis is kind of known for that kind of stuff. So I don't know how serious he is when he says that. We're going to have to wait and find out.
You know, I don't know. That's the exact problem is, you know, he's kind of fooled us once, right?
Yep.
So I didn't believe that was going to be an arm wrestling match right from the start because they never said the word arm wrestling and they were talking a lot of crap about, you know, one-on-one, but they never once said it was an arm wrestling match. So I figured it was going to be something like that.
Right.
But, you know, it's kind of like you got to build up a little bit of trust and actually commit to this arm. I don't think Cody would ever participate in those kind of shenanigans, but it might not be within his control either.
Right. You know, because I mean, even Michael Todd, after that little Texas deal, he even sat there and apologized. Hey, you know, I'm sorry, you know, for people who are really wanting to see us pull, which, you know, I didn't think it was going to happen because, number one, unless that was going to happen left-handed, because I think Michael was still training for the King of the Table versus Devin. he would never put himself in that kind of position unless it might have been left hand. You know, that was my only thought going into that.
Well, yeah, I kind of agreed with you there. I thought maybe left-handed match, which, you know, even if Travis is not trained, he should probably win that. But, you know, to go as far as have the arm wrestling table and then slide the arm wrestling table out of the way, it was a swerve. It was a swerve that a lot of us saw coming, but, you know, it is what it is. I mean, there's no real such thing as bad publicity.
Right.
And, you know, it was funny that Michael Todd apologized and felt bad about it. Travis leaned right into it.
That's because that's what Travis does. That's what Travis does. So aside from Arm Wars, once that comes and goes, where is Ryan Espy going to sit?
Well, you know, without giving away what Neil's about to tell you on his show tonight, I think a lot of people are going to take me a little more seriously on the right hand once this is all finished. In fact, I know it. I know that's going to happen. And then my schedule's open because Georgie and I aren't pulling in November anymore.
Right.
And I am going to Vegas for a work thing in November. So maybe I connect with Eric Spotto's crew down there and have some training sessions with them.
There you go. And like you said, check out your YouTube because you just never know when you'll pop up. And like I said, I like that. Maybe you might start something in a good way. Maybe you might start a trend where some of these guys who are not saying anything, they'll probably go, I like the way Espy thinks. I might just roll into a tournament, not say nothing, because we know everybody, like myself, once I get word of a tournament, I help get the word out by posting everything up there. You know, people take a look, okay, Fallen Heroes, gotcha. All right, I might just show up there October 23rd. Who knows? As an example, you know, so I like that.
Well, that's how it used to be, Jody. Like, you remember the Harley pull?
Oh, yeah.
Like, back in 2004, there wasn't the social media presence that we have today. I don't even think Facebook was a thing yet. And we would just show up, man. We would just all, you know, head down there. And you never knew that Marcio and Christian Binney and all these guys were going to be at the tournament. You just kind of showed up, and there they were.
Yeah. And I kind of miss those days where, you know, before, like I said, YouTube took over, or, you know, it was ArmTV, the original Gary Roberts ArmTV, the first rendition, where he would just show up to these events. How would you hear about it? Either A, somebody got on the phone and told you about it, or you go on the Northeast message board and you find out where the next tournament was. And then after that, once the tournament came and gone, you got back on there to see the results because, again, nobody was filming. So, you know, I kind of miss those days. Because now it's just kind of like out there. I mean, there is some pros and cons about all that. That, okay, hey, who's live streaming? That's the first thing you ask, because I do it too. Who's live streaming? And then, like, if I have to work, because I work on a Sunday, you know, and if I'm busy on a Saturday, then I have to wait and watch it in its entirety to kind of go, okay, I see it, you know.
Yeah. I remember the days when you had to rely on putting up posters at the supermarkets in the area to bring people to your tournament, or Leonard and Denise's old flyers they would mail out to you.
Oh, yeah.
Once in a while, I'd get a flyer sent to me from Leonard and Denise about all the upcoming events.
I still get that from time to time. Not so much that often, but now it's either I get one or they'll just tag me in a post. So, all right. Arm Sports Video says, about time Ryan Espy remains one of the most underrated pullers. You know, I will agree, and I think now it's because of travel. I think the reason why you're not out there as much as you would like to, because of travel. I mean, let's just be real. You know what I mean?
You're 100% correct. Like, right now, I put a lot of preparation into this match with Chance Shaw. So, yeah, you're going to see something special when Arm Wars happens. As long as I can get there, Jody. As long as I can get there.
Well, okay, well, let me get your response to that. Chance Shaw, and after that fatal four-way with Jordan Seal, Don Underwood, and Mike Aiello, and I just so happened to be, you know, we're all crashing at the Airbnb that night, and we came back, and I had him and Kyle DePue live, and he made a comment that kind of was interesting. I don't think it was wrong, but it was interesting. It kind of made sense. I want to get your thoughts on that. He said at the net in the future, the super heavyweights are going to be himself, Corey West, and Derek Smith. But he'd rather pull those guys when they're on top of the mountain as opposed to climbing the mountain, so it doesn't kill momentum. Well, let's be real. Both those guys are in the arm wars, and just for the sake of argument, if those guys win their respective matches, then you're going to pull each other regardless anyway. But how do you feel about that when someone like Chance says, I don't want to pull those guys now, I'd rather pull them at the top? Does that make any sense?
Well, of course he doesn't want to pull them now because those guys will beat him. And that's the issue that he's trying to avoid. So they all want to try to knock off the old guys that are still around and still hungry and still doing it. But they don't want to, have their own momentum killed and risk the potential Jerry Carteret match because Chance lost to Derek Smith or to Corey West. I don't believe, how do I say this nicely? Okay, I won't say it nicely. I don't believe that Corey West has a problem with either one of those guys, to be honest with you.
Right.
And, maybe if I was in Chance's position, I would sit in the back and say, yeah, I want to avoid him as long as possible, But what's my motivation for that? Because he is a real threat.
Yeah.
Corey West is a real threat to anybody right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll be at the top of the mountain waiting, but he's not there yet. So avoiding him until he gets there, man, I don't know. I don't know if that's the right move.
Well,
I mean, people are going to see through it eventually. I don't know.
Well, let's take the Corey West sake of argument. I was there at TEF2 when, he blasted his bicep versus Dave Chafee, but still not, I'm sorry, his left bicep, excuse me. But that same tournament, he still had a match with Wayne Withers on the right side. So those are two top dogs right there in North America. And, and Corey did that knowing that, hey, I may come out of this on top or I may come out of this, knocked down. But guess what? I'll never know until I go out there and prove myself. So there's that argument, right? And,
yeah.
Well, Jamie Shelton says, arm wrestling is an amazing time right now. Matches are happening. Certain wall matches may not happen, but there are hundreds of us that will be entertained by what will happen. So I'm not sure what he means by that. Maybe it's a wall thing. I don't know. But I'll say this. As far as WL goes, I would love to see some fresh people in there. Do I think it was fair that Ryan Espy only had one match and that was it? No. That's just my opinion, but it's like, it is what it is. I mean, how many times can you see Michael Todd and Jerry Carteret over and over again? At some point you got to kind of mix things up. You know what I mean?
I would really have a hard time. Like my contract will come up in June, and I will not have had a single match throughout the 2-year period that I was under contract. And I will also not have made a single dollar for the 2-year period that I was under contract.
Right.
But I've had a few matches blocked by promoters, and they're matches that could have happened, right? Like any promoter in Canada could put on Ryan Espy Matt Mask right now.
Yeah.
And I'll have to really do some soul searching before I enter any type of contract again in the future, because there's opportunities to pull for a lot of different people out there.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't have the glitz and the glamour of maybe the WAL, but I mean, there's lots of opportunity out there.
Yeah. And it goes back to the promoters, whether it be Denise and Leonard, Bill Collins, Brian Kerner, Ryan Johnston, Paul Tilia, the list goes on and on, where it's like, okay, if Wall's not doing anything, we're going to do something. And we're going to try to say, hey, let's match these guys up and see what happens. So I do like that. I mean, look at Kyle DePue. He's putting on the King of California. Well, who's in there? There's Tony Tomlinson, Tom Nelson, Alan Fisher. There's Derek Smith. So right there, all eyes are going to be on San Diego, California come September 4th, And Paul Tilia, same thing, October 16th. He has Bishop Logs in here. He has Todd Zilla, Corey West there on the same event. The following week, that in October 23rd is going to be a huge week because you got a big tournament in the Midwest. I'll be at. You got a huge tournament out in Virginia. And that's Paul Lynn versus John Brzezinski. So, and what do you think about John Brzezinski taking these matches all of a sudden?
I think John is amazing, man. I think he's not quite back to where he was, but he's getting there. And he's taking a very smart approach to some of these matches, taking some guys that are a little, aside from Chance, a little closer to him in size, and easing his way back up the ranks. And there's lots of opportunity for John. I mean, who wouldn't want to match with John Brzezinski?
Right.
Somebody phoned me tomorrow and said, "You want to pull John?" The answer is yes, 100% of the time. Either arm, any day, I'll be there. And, John, man, he could still be the guy.
Yes.
I mean, look what he did when he wanted to do it, when he decided he was going to come back to the World Arm Wrestling League and knock off Devin Laird.
Yeah.
He did it.
And,
that being said, I don't think anybody's beaten the Super Devin version we saw against Michael Todd.
But I don't even think Devin's even right there as we speak now. I mean, I honestly, and someone asked me, what do I think about Devin and his upcoming boxing match? Honestly, I really don't care about the boxing match because it's like, okay, it's gonna, as far as YouTube viewers, I mean, Devin is one of these guys where that guy can go water his lawn, trim the bushes, and he'll get 1.5 thousand viewers just for him doing that because he is who he is. So, from that standpoint, him boxing, it's like, okay, that's cool. He's going to box, which I really have no dog in the fight. I really don't care about that persona of him. It's just for views, which is fine. I just hope you don't dance around for 3 minutes just to get views or whatever and say, hey, I came unscathed. Hey, I took one punch, but I didn't throw another. So it all depends, you know what I mean? So.
Well, the interesting part for me about that boxing match is that there was a tipping point when Devin's channel went from good to like outstanding. And that's the point when Devin had that arm wrestling match with Hafthor and some skinny Canadian in comparison to Hafthor takes on the world's strongest man and makes him look silly in an arm wrestling match. And Devin's channel explodes.
Oh, yeah.
This is almost like the closing of the narrative of the chapter or the end of that story between these two guys. I'm going to pay for it. I'll watch it.
Right.
I think it's great for publicity. The one thing that is not good is that it's that much longer before we can see Devin Laird arm wrestle again.
Exactly. I was looking, forward to this version of Devin because, you kind of go, he's out of his Wall contract, by the way. So he doesn't even if the Wall came about, he's not even in contract. So he can go do what he wants. Now it's kind of going, okay, well, I want to pull some of these big guys, but if they can't leave their countries, what am I doing here? I got to do something. Or, if you got Igor, which, I don't want to, start cracking on Igor, but that guy, you talk about Levon, that's his guy. And now he's like in a bubble, and he's wrapped in a bubble wrap because that guy hasn't pulled a meaningful match in how long? And it's like going, you're supposed to be the world's best. And that goes back to the topic you and I were talking about as far as rankings. You can't be scared ducking and diving. So if I'm Levon, I'm thinking, Igor, I'm supposed to be the man. You're like showcasing me with all these videos, but yeah, I'm not pulling nobody. What the hell's going on?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's so weird. Like, I think Devin was very smart to get out of his contract completely and just do what he wants because promoters just are seeming like the old school promoters and the guys that are, they seem to be messing things up a lot more than they're getting it right.
Right. And, and like I said, it's unfortunate that it went down that way, but it's like, come on, Igor. I mean, dude, your guy, Levon, in your eyes, and maybe in the PAL's eyes, is the man, but other people outside that PAL bubble may think to differ. After what we saw with Devin and Michael, I'm thinking, wow. However, don't count out Dave Chafee, because he may sit there and do something. The sad thing about the top 8 and the way Dave Chafee drew Levon is that if for some reason Dave loses that match to Levon, the best Dave can do is 5th place because the way it all the way the brackets line up, you know?
Right.
And I thought...
That being said, though, if Dave Chafee beats Levon, then we're not having the debate on who the best is anymore. He's gonna drag Devin Laird all the way to the number 1 spot by beating Levon, I think.
Oh yeah. If okay, how about this? If let's just say Chafee does beat Levon, all of a sudden Devin's ears perk up, his antennas, like, whoa, what? Levon lost? Maybe he's not as good as people think. Chafee goes to the finals and he wins the whole thing. Now, do we get the start of Devin versus Dave Chafee without the wall pads, without the other King's Move stuff? Do we get that version? Does Devin say, hey, I'm going to bulk up, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing I did with Michael and try to take you out so I can be on top and then walk away into the sunset as the man? Do we see that?
I think we do. And I think probably Larry Wheels is involved and puts it on as another King of the Table event. And we get to see the Dave Chafee Devin Laird match under a different set of rules.
Right.
And then, Devin could potentially drop the mic and walk away if he wins.
Because honestly, I mean, at that point, if I'm predicting this right, at that point, he has nothing to prove anymore. Because for the longest X amount of years, Michael Todd was the guy. No one can beat him. Didn't matter what rule said it was. No one can beat him. Devin finally beats him. And I'm like, okay, fine. Now, Devin's pretty much the man now. But there's always that question mark. There's always that question mark. Well, you got Levon over here on the other side of the pond. And then, you still got Dave Chafee kind of knocking at the door. So we're not quite yet ready to king who's the man yet. Not in my eyes anyway. But that's just where we're at right now,
Yeah. It's interesting times, and they could work themselves out very quickly. Like, we could have an answer to that question right away.
Oh, yeah. That's why I can't wait for November, because when that first round happens, I know, and Dave is not one to sit there and constantly, I think he has a YouTube. I know he has an Instagram, and it's more of, hey, me and my wife did this. Me and the kids did that, which is good. I like that kind of stuff. He'll put a training video here and there, but he's kind of quiet. And for someone like him, his stature, not saying anything, he's just training hard. We really don't know what shape he's in, meaning that he may come out and just blow Levon's doors out, and we don't know. Where Igor is doing all the promoting for Levon, and Levon's just sitting there with this dumbfounded look like, okay, I guess I'm the guy, seriously, because every time you see him, he has that same dumbfounded look, So it's interesting, and I think, and I hate to say this, and I may be wrong, but I like to get your thoughts on this too. I think Levon is going on borrowed time.
In what sense? Are you talking about the extreme measures to get to where he's at?
Oh, well, yeah, that's one of them. But the other one, borrowed time, I think, is because of the fact that, dude, you have to be pulling an actual. We're not talking about practice pulling. We're talking about actual pulling event. He hasn't done it in a long time. And, how's that going to happen? There's got to be some table rust when you get to a tournament that big. There's going to be some table rust. Sorry, that's just the way it is,
Yeah, and he's coming in right away and going against Dave Chafee. And Dave is a way of, spoiling the party for people. So,
yeah.
It's going to be very interesting, and I would not be shocked if you saw Dave win that match.
Yeah, and I hope he does. Because I think Dave, got cheated out of the second version of Wall, the Supermatch version. Because when Wall first came out, it was on ESPN. Dave was just dominating. Every year, rest assured he was going to get that hammer. And then, he signed with PAL, so he wasn't there yet. And then I guess there was a clause in his contract where he can go do Wall, and he beat Krasimir. Okay, cool. But then it was like when he pulled Michael and Devin, it was like you could just see in his body language that it's like, this is not for me.
Yeah, no, he didn't want any part of that.
Right.
I kind can empathize a little bit with that because there's a lot of shenanigans you got to put up with.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, largely that's based on your opponent too.
Right.
Who does what? Who gets away with what? And you know, what they're willing to do to get through to somebody, get into somebody's head.
Yeah, I mean, watching him pull Michael Todd in that WAL match was probably the most awkward match I've ever seen, because you got two guys who are good friends off the table, and you got to pull each other, and it's like David's not like that. He's not that guy that's going to put on a show like a Travis, like a Devin or something like that. He's not that kind of guy. And for him to, it seemed like it was just painful. Let me just get through this match and be done. That's what it felt like to me.
That's what it kind of felt like with me too. And you know, it was I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, here we go. But you know, then him and pulling Devin, where Devin, I'm gonna go. Devin's like, I'm gonna go for the win. If I go toe to toe with Dave, it's not gonna work out right. So I'm gonna Kings move him, wear him out, you know, get him on my side of the table. Which, from a strategy standpoint, that was the right thing to do for Devin. But at the same time, you know, again, you know, with Dave, it just wasn't. It just seemed like he just didn't fit in that format, you know.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. He didn't seem like he was super comfortable, and that's unfortunate. But you know,
right?
That's how it goes. How it goes.
Well, Ryan, is there anything else you want to add to the show before we go ahead and put a bow tie on this? Because now I'm really interested to see what Neil has to say.
Yeah, I want you to give me a shout when he's done and tell me what your thoughts are, because he definitely has an interesting announcement coming up. And it's going to change, you know. Well, I can't say much more than that.
Okay, I don't want to get you in trouble, but I tell you what, the minute that show is done, rest assured, expect a call from me.
All right, man. I look forward to it.
All right, brother. Thanks for joining me on the show, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Make sure everyone hits subscribe on this channel.
You got it. You heard it from the man. Hit subscribe. All right, Ryan. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Thanks, pal.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Ryan Espy, like he said, hit the subscribe button. Talk of Thunder is your boy, okay? So, again, he's going to be involved in that Battleground Fatal 4-Way at Arm Wars, okay, between Espy, Alex Kordeka, Derek Smith, Chance Shaw. I'm telling you right now, I can't wait for that. I wish it was this weekend or maybe next weekend, but it is what it is. You know, we're going to have to wait. But rest assured, we got some awesome events coming up in the next few months, okay? Hey, your boy here has a major event coming up October 23rd. Fallen Heroes, best of 5 with the left hand with a guy named Roger Learn. And I'm telling you, that guy is turning some heads. And this will probably be the most important super match in my career. I assure you that. That guy, I mean, it's your typical top roller versus hooker puller. You know, it's your East versus West. It's your 90% guy. It's your, you know, Paul Tilia / Puller Magazine guy. And I'm telling you right now, you can't get no more opposite than us two. And we're going to lay it all on the line in Kansas City in the Midwest. And by the way, that day, go to Virginia. Paul Lynn, John Brazique, the same day. So this place is going to be rocking October 23rd. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the week before that, I already mentioned it. Bill Logston, Justin Bishop, Corey West, Todd Zilla in Texas. Don't get no better than that, y'all. Again, I want to thank everybody who commented. Jimmy Sheldon, Scott McGinnis, Christian Green. And I'm telling you right now, this was the first ever ArmTalk episode on YouTube. All right, on YouTube. Thanks, everybody. I don't know what to say because I was nervous as hell. I wanted everything to go right, and it looks like it did. So I got comments. I was worried because I'm like, nobody commented yet. And then the comments started coming. So I'm thinking, okay, we good. So I want to thank everybody for joining me on the show. And now that I got this thing on YouTube rolling, now you can look back. I know sometimes it can be real hard to catch an interview on my Facebook page when you got to scroll. So now that I got this thing going, I know it took me a long time, but I'm here now. So again, As always, I see ya when I see ya. Y'all have a good day.